dangerously close. What's up, WrestleManiacs? It's me, Doug. And this episode was brought to you by WilliamMitchellAudio.com. Do you all remember WrestleMania 5 when Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker and The Rock all tried to wrestle me at the same time? And I kicked all their asses because WilliamMitchellAudio.com had my back. So if you're looking for the highest quality audio engineering company in the whole goddamn US of A, then go to WilliamMitchellAudio.com.
My guest today is Dwayne Colbert. Dwayne is an improviser from Los Angeles. He's a graduate of Second City Hollywood's improv, writing, long-form, and directing programs. He's been a writer for Nickelodeon, has toured the Second City abroad with Norwegian cruise lines, and has appeared in numerous national commercials. Dwayne writes, performs, and directs improv and sketch comedy throughout the Los Angeles area at various comedy festivals around the country. I mean, he won an Emmy. I'm telling you, Dwayne's resume is like a mile long. So I'm going to stop now because if I read this is all, the whole podcast would just be me reading all of Dwayne's accomplishments. So I'm done doing that. What's up, Dwayne?
Hey, how's it going? It's awesome that you framed them as accomplishments because oftentimes when they were happening, I always felt like they were failures. I'd be like, oh, I only got this far in this thing I wanted. I had time to move on to something else, but I love the framing.
Oh, dude, actually, man, this is kind of crazy because when I was just talking about your resume, I was just kind of going through your IMDb and I clicked on the miscellaneous button because they have it all separated out, like things you've acted in and all this stuff. And I was like, what's miscellaneous?
Yeah.
And I clicked on it. And right there, it said Animaniacs and Life with Louie. And I was looking at the dates and I was like, did you just start out like working on two of the funniest cartoons that ever existed? I love both those cartoons so much.
I love them both as well. It was amazing that I even got the chance to work on those in the production. One I was a production assistant for. I started off as an intern at a small animation house that used to be in Glendale called Hyperion Animation or Hyperion Studios. Some ex-Disney execs had started their own animation house. They did Life with Louie. They did Happily Ever After on HBO. They did Brave Little Toaster series. It was a nice little place to be. And it was just like I was, Googled how to be an animator. And they were like, well, you got to go to these places and do these things and you can get internships. So I was still in school at the time. So I was like, well, let me just see if I can get an internship at a small animation house. So got an internship there. And I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to make sure that I put my nose to the grindstone and anytime they even think of me or look up and see me in my face, I'm working hard, just making a copy. I just wanted to learn the process of animation. So that was a great training ground being at Hyperion, working on Life with Louie. I even did a couple what we call scratch voices. Those aren't actual, actors that they would normally put on there, but temporary voices to help out the storyboard artists or animators. So I even did a few scratch voices that I still have VHS tape of me doing for Life with Louie.
So actually, so you were just first starting out. You're working on Life with Louie, and then you're actually in the booth doing voices with Louie Anderson. Was that
not with Louie? I wish. I later did get to work with Louie on a live action show called Baskets that he helped. He produced as well, which was awesome. That was an amazing experience. But at the time, no, it was just like they had a small little booth within the studio. We didn't go to a separate booth, and he was just like, hey man, the production, I think manager or something was like, hey, we just need some quick little voices. Can you step over here, do the, that kind of thing. So it wasn't very glamorous at all. And animation was different. Like there were layoffs I think at Hyperion. It was a dip in work at the time. So I asked for a letter of recommendation before I left because I felt like I was pretty friendly with everyone. Everyone appreciated my work ethic. Gave me a letter of recommendation, and I used that along with my resume to apply to other places. So I remember interviewing at the time at Warner Brothers Animation. I think they're still in the Valley. I don't know, but we were in Sherman Oaks in the building next to the Galleria, and across the hall was Batman Superman. So I interviewed Batman Superman, and then they said, "Wait, Animaniacs wants to interview you," and so it was going back and forth on where I was going to work. But I just would. I never got hired on Batman Superman, but they were across the hall, and I would just geek out. I would walk across there. I would read their the storyboards that they threw into the the recycle bin with notes on them. I would read those and I wanted to know what the executives and producers were saying about these things. So I remember Hillary Bader, RIP, I used to like I was attracted to her notes on Superman. I was like, oh my God, she said, why does he use the rocket boots? He can fly, and all these other things like
Yeah.
practical, awesome narrative storytelling things that and visual things that I just soaked it all in, working on those two productions in particular. We had the most fun, I think, on Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain. Those are just fun shows, and the cast.
I can't imagine it not being fun, dude.
Yeah.
Working on it, yeah, especially Pinky and the Brain, man. Like this is one of the most formative, like for me, like what comedy is. Just
like we used to get nominated when I was on the show for Emmys like every year, and I think at the time the Emmys were in New York or something. So a lot of the crew or the execs and whatever went to New York. So it was like a sparse kind of area in there for us in our cubicles. So we just like totally took over someone's cubicle, made it into a bar, had these big parties, and it was just like nothing but a good time. My favorite drawing by one of the storyboard artists, because they would put up drawings, you know, on their cubicles, but stuff that the public wouldn't see. But it was a drawing of Pinky, the dumb one,
yeah,
eating his tail while at the same time shitting it out. And I thought that was just amazing.
That's awesome. You know, there's like so much treasure that's in these studios that like the general public will never get to see.
Yeah, it was so fun. I remember the first time I saw a script that had the names listed on the circulation, like who gets a copy of the script, and Steven Spielberg's name was on there. He was still producing the show. So I sent that to my mom. I was like, hey, I'm listening on the distribution list for Spielberg. I think I've done it. And he probably just took those and tossed them in the trash, whatever. But for me, that was amazing. Just to have my name even close proximity to someone is amazing as that.
Like right out the gate, still in school, working on a Steven Spielberg project. And
right.
I mean, outside of like maybe Jaws and Jurassic Park, my favorite Steven Spielberg project there is. You know, this is kind of a silly question, but it's ironically, there's like a lot of synchronicity on this show, and this just kind of happened on accident. But for some reason or other, in some other conversations, I've ended up asking people their favorite Animaniac, if it's like Yakko, Wacko, or Dot. Do you have like one of their personalities you think is like your favorite, or like that you vibe with the most?
Yeah, I never thought about that question at all, but I would say only because I remember there was working on I just worked on their one and only movie that they did. It was called Wacko's Wish. I remember when they were working on the movie, I had just started on there, and there was like seeing some clips from it or something like that. And I remember I think it was Yakko. Yeah, Yakko was the tallest one. He went by the screen in a way where they were skating or something, like his butt like wiped, and I was like, oh, that's a wipe, that's a butt wipe or something like that. So ever since seeing that butt wipe, Yakko was my favorite.
Yeah, Yakko's my favorite too. He had the song, All the Countries in the World, which to this day is just like, it's so dope because it's like he makes it funny as hell. I mean, you guys made it funny, you know. The people
I wasn't a writer, but yeah,
sometimes it's hard because I think of Yakko as a real person. I don't know, you know,
right.
Especially because I've been watching Yakko like since I was, you know, a child. Is really formative for me, like
he's
my
real
brain.
To us.
So so I was like, Yakko's a real person. So of course I'm going to say
that's amazing that you brought that up, because recently we were pitching something with some friends at a company where it was an animated project we're pitching, and one of our people who was helping us, the consultant we brought with us, Liz Thompson, Liz was bringing up the fact that scientifically, you know, repetition and things, music basically helps you learn. I won't go into the details of what music helps you learn. Yeah. And our example was, right, Liz? And Liz would start spouting off the countries of the world based on Yakko's song.
Yeah.
Came back to that later. We're like, Liz, now tell them this other thing. And she was sing the song again. So we're like, you know, as a way of us in a silly way, illustrating how those things are ingrained. So that was just a very recently. So it's amazing you brought that up as well.
There have been some like kind of ambitious, like clever YouTube people have taken that song to do like other, you know, with like a political agenda or whatever. But like one I remember during, do you remember like the Coalition of the Willing? It's the Iraq War.
Oh yes.
And it's when George Bush was trying to say that we had a million allies, and then someone took the song and they had Yakko sing all the allies. So what they did is so they took, I don't know how they had the tracks to split it like that, but they had his vocal track taken out and just had the music playing. So he's just dancing and pointing at the world, and then every 30 seconds he'll go England. and then say nothing for like a real long time and go Australia.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Man.
Yeah, as much as I love, you know, musical comedy, I didn't think I'd ever be good enough or even have the, you know, the skill set to to work on those myself as much as I enjoyed them. And that's what we ended up winning an Emmy on later on, was for some musical comedy. We were,
I
writing
was
lyrics.
gonna ask about you won most outstanding original song.
Standing original song for it was a short anthology series, like 3 episodes only, on Funny or Dies, and I think it was on Facebook Live. Was it Facebook Live? Maybe at the time too, but it was called Brainwashed by Tunes. My buddy Neil Gargiulo created the show, and they brought me on as an executive producer and a writer, and that was amazing because one of the best stories from that was an email that Neil got after we won the Emmy, that Jason Alexander wrote. We did 3 songs. One, Wayne Brady helped us write a song and sung a song. Leah Thompson from the Back to the Future series, she helped us write a song and sung a song. And Jason Alexander from Seinfeld did. And the one we ended up winning for was the one with Jason. And cool. Jason sent a nice email, thanking Neil and us for bringing him on. And because his peers on Seinfeld had all been nominated for and had won Emmys, but he had been nominated, never won before.
Oh, so we got
him his very first Emmy, which was amazing for us. And we're like, and for him as well, I'm sure.
Well, especially for it to be like for music instead of
exactly
like for Seinfeld. Like that's crazy because
he was great.
He's like the second main character, basically.
Right. I mean, exactly.
I guess it's kind of hard to say.
Basically, well, he's the Larry David character, basically. Everyone knows that by now, but at the time we didn't know that. He basically was playing Larry David, who was a co-creator of the show.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. I mean, Jason was just really good. He pretended to be like taken aback that we were wanting him to write some with us and improvise a couple of lines. He was like, wait, words that aren't written for me. We thought he was serious about that. We're like, yes, we want you to participate. And he nailed it. Like every time, talking about over and above what we thought it would be. Same with Wayne, same with Leah. They were just really great to work with. And you can see why those pros are, get the praises that they do, because he was just like on another level.
Yeah, for sure. I was actually so that was like a 2019 production, Brainwashed by Tunes. So you would have won that Emmy in 2020. Did you guys have to be? Was that like such a bummer because you just got this? Like you were nominated, then you won, and it was 2020. So like you were at home, right? Like you weren't even allowed to be there. Or am I wrong about timeline?
Well, there's no bummers allowed for winning an Emmy.
No, it's awesome no matter what. I didn't mean to frame it like.
But I will say that it was bittersweet in that we did want to be able to go to the ceremony, because the categories we got nominated for: outstanding original song and outstanding writing in a daytime series. We were up against like Ellen and stuff like that. Those would have been broadcast, so that would have been nice. But we did have an online ceremony, and then for one of our nominations, Neil, the creator, was actually able to stand in the wings, so to speak, at home on Zoom, waiting to see if we won. We didn't end up winning the writing one, but still he got to be on broadcast live kind of thing. It was bittersweet, but again, there's no downside to winning that.
No, for real, no bummers allowed whatsoever. I guess in my mind, I'm so, man, it's like the simple things that, like, to me, that I'm like, that I would be impressed by. Even I'm just like, how cool to sit at one of those tables with that ice bucket of like,
right.
Like,
yeah, I'm with you on that. I like the simple things and soak it all in too. There's so many instances in my life of just like total geeked out fandom that turned into embarrassing moments because I was so geeked out, that I've since learned, since acting, to kind of temper that and know better of it. But I still get geeked out over the smallest things. I'm still a huge fan of a lot of people's work and a lot of fun things like anime and whatnot. I can't help it.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, man. I absolutely have to check out Brainwashed by Tunes. I haven't seen it yet.
Please.
So
you'll find it on Funny or Die's website. Yeah, funnyorDie.com.
Okay, that's what I'm doing right after this. Also, everybody listening, shoot over there and check out Brainwashed by Tunes, because
I don't know if
got
it's
an Emmy for
well
this,
maintained
guys.
as far as how it's categorized there, but look for Brainwashed by Tunes. The first one was called, with Wayne Brady, was called, so we did them on different themes. One was on how old cartoons influenced or brainwashed us, so to speak, the way we accept certain things like racism was Wayne Brady's episode. And sexism was Leah Thompson's episode, how we kind of normalize these things. And anti-Semitism was the one with Jason Alexander. So it was ways of us to say, look, we recognize that visual medium is a propaganda machine, and look how it was used initially. And we have just like, damning examples in there of how it was totally used. But we did it again in a funny, lighthearted, comical way, because in my opinion, especially when you want to tackle serious subjects, comedy is the invitation. You get them on your side with saying, I am a competent comedian that's going to entertain you. Now, if you happen to have something to say after you've presented your funny, good
Yeah.
on you. But that is never our goal necessarily. With that show, it was. But
Yeah.
when it comes to writing other things and participating in things like an improv or a narrative that I might write, that's never at the forefront because I don't want to be up on my soapbox wagging my finger at people. I want to say, let's do and have this fun experience. And then along the way, if I have an opinion I want to share, since I have your attention, maybe I'll share that. But
Yeah.
try not to get too preachy, you know.
Because comedy is like, it is a universal language. You don't even have to speak the same actual language. I mean, I've had like a lot of experience with like just that, like doing construction work in my life and working with people that don't speak the same language as me, but we're all laughing at the same shit, But yeah,
it really touches me hearing shit like that. I teach sketch comedy still from time to time, and there's a sketch scene style that we've identified at the Pack Theater called Seemingly Simple But Impossible Task. And those are usually not a lot of dialogue, usually, very physical. And those oftentimes translate into like universal or what we call like evergreen comedies where they were funny yesterday, they'll be funny today, and they'll be funny tomorrow kind of thing. So those always, really have a special place for me too, because it does kind of unite us to see like, oh man, we don't even talk the same language, but we're still laughing at the same thing. Amazing.
Yeah. Or even if you've got like just a little bit, like there's these dudes I was working with, they couldn't say my name, man. It's like just Doug was just like, it wasn't to their ear, didn't sound like a name. And so then they knew the word dog. And so they just like, no matter what, they just thought my name was Dog. And so, but everybody would just crack about it all the time and shit. And then like, they just made my nickname Perro, and it's just like, yeah, dude. Well, I mean, all I mean by that is, the universal language, everybody wants to laugh, man. It's like,
exactly.
It's like the pure human need.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd even, it's funny when friends from like college or high school find out that I work in comedy, they'd be like, but you weren't even funny. So like, well, in my opinion, I was very funny. I was like an observer. I would sit back and I was very quiet, maybe up until like high school and college, something like that. But for the most part, I was learning. I was just trying to take it all in. But there's something connecting that I can appreciate about someone who, maybe it's just a personal selfish thing for me, but someone who can gets and appreciates my attempts at comedy. I'm like, that's a win, man. One day on set, I remember as an actor making Mike Judge laugh on one of his shows. I'd had a day player, a small part, but I made Mike Judge like that's Beavis and Butthead, bro.
Yeah,
like,
that's gonna feel so good.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why I was imagining him laughing like
He didn't quite do a character, but his natural laugh is in the range. I'll say.
Oh, does that come kind of like a little bit from his actual laugh, like the Butthead?
A little bit. I wouldn't say it sounds like either Beavis or Butthead's laugh, but I recognize in the range is what I'll say. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. I guess like where I was gonna go next was just like you've been in a ton of commercials. You're super, and like you really, really carry this stuff. I mean, like you are the funny thing. Like, and specifically when I was watching your reels and stuff, and I've seen you in a lot of NFL commercials, and I just feel like this makes you particularly qualified to answer this question. I wanted to ask somebody, and now I feel like you're the man. Like this, I can ask this question to. And I mean, if you don't have an opinion, that's totally fine. But it's about fantasy football. Do you think that fantasy football is like the mainstream, like more socially acceptable Dungeons and Dragons?
I think that's an excellent observation, and I would say yes to that. Having participated, I haven't been in a fantasy league in probably like 4 years. I remember consciously saying, all right, football is just losing me on so many levels. But then I find myself just being drawn to it because I grew up watching football and had relatives and whatnot that played football and everything. So I do enjoy the sport, but there's just things about it professionally that still irk me. But that's a great observation to say that fantasy football would be, I don't know about a grown-up version because there's so many grown-ups I know that play Dungeons and Dragons, but I would say the sports version for sure. Yeah.
I guess like that's why I said like mainstream, because like they want you to play fantasy, like on the NFL wants you to do it.
Oh yeah. But I would say that I used to be just rooting for my own team a lot, and then when I started playing fantasy, I didn't grow up a gambler or anything like that. But when I started playing fantasy, it is gambling, so to speak, even if there's no money involved or whatever. But what was fun about it was that how many different players, sometimes you'd root for maybe an elite player from another squad, but for the most part, you rooted for your squad. But I found myself rooting for so many different games and watching so many more games. So in that respect, yeah, it did help me open up the NFL to me in ways where I was looking at other players and other teams and trying to seek out other shows and getting the package so I can watch all the other games. So that was exciting and fun, and it did make it more fun that way. Yeah.
What made me realize, early on when fantasy was a little bit newer, I mean, it had been around for a while, and I didn't get it. I was like, and I like to play Madden. I don't play so much anymore, but around that time period, I was playing Madden a lot. It was like one of my favorite games. And so I was like, why would anybody play fantasy football when you could just play Madden? And it's like, it's a real game. You're really playing,
right.
And then, but I worked at this bar at the time, and a lot of my coworkers, like a lot of the bartenders there, and then they had this night, it was like the draft pick, and everybody showed up with their laptops, and it was super,
it's a big deal. The draft is amazing. Yes.
Well, that's when I got it. I was like, oh, Dungeons and Dragons, like, yeah, you could sit at home and play like Zelda or whatever. Might be like I can't.
But it's not the same. There is a communal experience. There's a social experience to it. There's an trying to outmaneuver strategic experience to it.
Yeah.
Competition. Fun. It's just the nerd factors there. Yeah.
And like you said, some people definitely take it to the realm of they bet some money on it.
Oh yeah. Pretty big chunks of change. I think the first time I started was after I did like an office pool once. And I was like, man, I think it was right before the pandemic hit. So my year, they used to give out big prizes for that. And then my year that I fucking won it, like they had laid off half the staff and didn't even give out a prize. So I was like, it went out with the thud. So I was like, oh man, well, let me join a league.
Dude, the pandemic ripped you off, dude. You didn't get the bucket of Moet. You didn't get
exactly. Well, that being said though, man, 2020, the end of that year, I hadn't worked as an actor the whole year, and I was just like distraught.
Yeah.
Luckily I had a couple of spots playing, like Milkbone was playing and some other things, but I was like, okay, well then maybe I just got to focus on writing. That's it for me. And then a piece of copy came through for a commercial. They were just starting to do like Zoom auditions at home for commercials, and I was like, oh wow, this seems like a big deal. But it's kind of late in the year to be auditioning for a Super Bowl commercial, even though it felt like one. They never tell you if they are or not, but it felt like a Super Bowl commercial, and it felt like it was either going to be The Rock or Michael B. Jordan. So I was like, you know what? Maybe this is a Super Bowl commercial, and maybe it's going to have one of these celebrities. So I'm just going to give it my all. And that one was a game changer, man. That was like, so I was like, yes, it's horrible that the world is shut down and all these, terrible things happen. All these people died, and it was mishandled on so many different levels in so many different ways. But professionally for me, I was like, bro, that commercial hit so hard. It was amazing. It was a Amazon commercial with Michael B. Jordan. In February 2021, it was during that Super Bowl, and like it got 78 million hits in less than a week. And I think it might even still be up, but it was just like I got signed with a new representation, someone that a company that I had been wanting to be signed with. I got with them, going out on all the parts I'd been wanting to go out for. Suddenly I had a bunch of different commercials running at the same time as that. So it was just a game changer in a way where I was like, how did I turn this pandemic into like, something positive for me when I was, like everyone else, I was just miserable at first.
That's so crazy. I tried to watch like so many of your commercials, like leading up to this interview. That's one I missed, which I'm bummed about, because I'm a huge fan of Michael B. Jordan, because I feel like he single-handedly saved the Rocky franchise. Like,
that movie was so good. I saw that in theaters, man. I love that movie. Yeah.
The first one, well, they're both great, but when Creed came out, I was like, this is better than I feel like the top two are Rocky 1 and Creed 1. Like those are the two best ones. And I think Rotten Tomatoes probably agrees with me on that. But
I enjoyed 3 as well. Is that the one with Mr. T? That was I just thought Mr. T.
Oh no, I mean, don't get me wrong. I've watched all of these movies and I love it. Yeah, Mr. T is great. The one with Dolph Lundgren where he's the steroided up.
If he dies, dies.
Yeah.
I love that. I think I saw that one in theaters too, man. Yeah.
In my opinion, there's not a bad Rocky movie necessarily.
There really isn't.
There is
just others that are better than.
Yeah, there's clearly some that are like works of art, and that would be Creed, and of course Rocky, the original. Those are two those are auteur films.
I was just on maybe it was on Twitter or Instagram recently, but I was just watching that Oh my gosh, we're just talking about the character. He plays Apollo Creed. The actual actor's name, though.
Oh, Michael B. Jordan.
No, not Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, the original.
Yes.
God damn it!
He was in
Predator.
Yeah, he was in Happy Gilmore. He's awesome.
He's in everything.
Yeah. He was in the Star Wars series recently. The Mandalorian.
Hold on, man. We're not letting this go by, dude.
Yes, he's so good.
Creed actor.
He was a football player. He was played for the Raiders.
It's gonna say Michael B. Jordan.
Right. Anyway, he had shared some footage from Rocky of them rehearsing on Rocky 2, and it was amazing. The footage, it was just two actors working it out. There was playfulness there. It was very professional. I think in the post even it was talking about how quickly Sylvester Stallone had written screenplay for that follow-up too, which was amazing. I think he'd done it like a week or something, which is unheard of. Carl Weathers.
God damn it. You know what happened? I was trying to Google it. What happens is if you say Creed Rocky, or Creed Rocker, whatever I was just doing, it just keeps showing Michael B. Jordan. You have to say Apollo Creed.
Apollo Creed, yeah.
Differentiate it.
Yeah. The Carl Weathers. My apologies, Carl.
Mr. Weathers. Carl, we love you.
Yeah.
You should have won that arm wrestling match with Arnold in the.
Oh right, yeah. But that's you gotta look up on his feed. Either it's on Instagram or Twitter, I forget which, where he shares some of that footage of him and Stallone just rehearsing the stunts that they're going to be doing, and it's just beautiful too. It's beautiful. It's like ballet, bro. It's amazing.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Oh, man, I just had a couple more follow-up questions on this fantasy football thing, and one popped in my head while you were talking because you brought up the gambling thing. Do you think that had an impact in Vegas when people all over the world started getting so much more in-depth knowledge about these stats and what? Because back in the day, only professional gamblers would know what now anyone that plays fantasy knows.
Right.
That must have affected the bookies,
This is a complete layman's answer, so take it with more than a grain of salt. But I would say it probably initially frightened them, but then I think it leveled off, because they find different ways that are different ways you can bet that will still get them money. You know what I mean? So there's always house is always going to win. For the most part, but it did probably make them hire, some guys from Wall Street to figure out ways that they're gonna always get money based on, the odds of this certain type of betting, and it probably got a lot more granular in ways that we don't even know unless you're a professional gambler. But it always levels off in ways where the money's going to flow or else why would they do it?
But, it's like if you're Vegas, the more gamblers, the better. It doesn't matter how sophisticated they are.
Right, exactly. Are you in California?
I'm in Nashville.
You're in Nashville. Here in California, we have on our ballot recently about opening up online gambling more than where it already is. And I'm of two minds about it. There's pros and cons to it. So I won't say which way I'm leaning one way or the other, but it affects a lot of people. It could affect a lot of people detrimentally, but it also could open up revenue sources for others and competition and competitiveness that it should be necessary in competitive capitalism. So I don't know.
I have one opinion about this. It might not be very valid, but it's this. If you get in over your head and you're gambling, but you're on an app, that app's not going to break your legs. You might have.
It may break your bank though. It may break your family though from you're taking your time away. But you're right. It's not going to break your legs. So there is that going for you. But yeah, I worry about the addictiveness of it. Yes.
Yeah.
I worry about maybe especially here in California with our tribal gambling taking away some revenue there. Yes. But again, the spirit of competition, capitalism, all that. I don't like monopolies. So if we can open that up to more businesses, then yes to that too.
Actually, that you brought up that point. I've completely shifted my gears. I didn't even consider the fact that it would be taking away revenue from tribal gambling. And now I'm 100% on their side. So sorry, my bookie or whatever.
Hold up. It's time for an ad. Have you ever watched the movie The Lion King or Free Willy and thought, hey, I would like to get up close and personal with a dangerous predatory animal without all the red tape and government hullabaloo? You're in luck. My Views Are My Own podcast is now offering wilderness expeditions to get up close and personal with dangerous wild animals. All you need is a passport, a sense of adventure, and $3,000 worth of cryptocurrency. We accept Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and more. But we don't accept a shitty attitude. If you have a shitty attitude, I don't care how much cryptocurrency you have. Good vibes only. This safari is for people with discretionary cryptocurrency and good vibes only. I don't need anybody's fucked up attitude ruining it for everybody else. Use promo code MyViewsAreMyOwn for 50% off the My Views Are My Own Predatory Animal Safari. Now back to the interview.
Yeah. Here was the last question about fantasy football, and I'm done.
Yes.
No
worries. You can have more if you. That's okay.
Well, it just has so many branches, and this is the one because I was thinking, like, with the success of Stranger Things right now. I mean, that's like the biggest TV show out, basically. Yeah. And I think it was so cool. What it did is it made Dungeons and Dragons so much more accessible to everyone, to people that were like, oh, that's some nerd shit, and now everyone loves these kids, and they're like, oh, cool. I want to know what you think. Do you think there's some people that were like playing fantasy football that have now, they've seen this show and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna play Dungeons and Dragons. It's a lot like what I'm already playing.
I absolutely believe there's crossover.
There's got to be.
Yeah, it's fantasy football is the gateway drug to
role playing games.
Role player games. Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, why not? Like, who doesn't like fun? I think that the connectivity of social media and the internet as a whole, opened up a lot of people who thought that it's only me or it's very niche, and realized that the niche is the universal. So, yeah, why not, man?
I had some friends that played that game like growing up, and it's like they were all cool dudes, but it did, even to me back then, I was just like, that game seems kind of like I wasn't like drawn to it at all.
I hear that. Yeah, I hear that. I wasn't as a kid drawn into role player games. I did like games, card games, and board games and all that, but I never played like role player games until I was an adult.
Yeah. It's just like everything else. Like you're saying, like you used to be an observer.
Right.
So you're like,
and I'm not kidding about that. Like people, like my mom tells a story where other kids didn't think I could talk for like years.
Oh, crazy, dude.
Yeah, and I would just shoot back like one liner, like, I just didn't have anything to say to you, something like that. But yeah, I was just an observer. Yeah.
There's a meme I really like, and I've seen several different iterations of it, but it's just about kind of what you're saying. And people are always like saying, like, the quiet kid. They're like, you'll sit there and one day the quiet kid says something and you realize it's the funniest person in the whole school. Like it's the first thing they've said all year, and it's the funniest thing you've ever heard in your life. Yeah.
Trying to put it all together, coming in with we call that in comedy, that's a sniper. Somebody comes in and just kind of in improv. They got that punch, that line that they've been sitting back waiting to deliver, and it's always awesome and lethal.
Dude, all right. Speaking of, obviously you're really, really funny and all this stuff, but also like clearly a lot of people respect you. And I was gonna say this. I was looking at the grid photo of the Second City Advisory Board. First of all, I want to say congratulations for getting top row center photo, best spot on the whole thing, and you really stand out because you got the purple hoodie. It pops. That
was by design. Well, luckily for me, Stephen Colbert chose to list it alphabetically. So
is that how that happened?
Just alphabetically. So that has nothing to do with anything other than just being diplomatic that way and very fair. He's a very fair-minded person. As far as we did get to choose which headshot we wanted to do, and I ran that by my manager. I'm from South Los Angeles. I grew up in a neighborhood that was very rough, and oftentimes you feel that coming out of you in ways you don't even expect sometimes. So when I was taking those series of headshots, I brought I'm a Laker fan. I brought the purple and gold. That one's it's really great because it has a Dodger hat, but with the Laker colors, which I really love as representing LA. So I showed it to my manager. I was like, hey, you think it would be too much if I use this headshot? He was like, no, I like it. No, so once I got that endorsement, I was like, cool, because I love it.
I mean, it draws your eye. I mean, also, yeah, you got the best location, but also it draws your eye, the Laker colors. Because yeah, over here is Stephen Colbert over on your right, but you don't even see him. You're like, but
right. Well, that came about in an awesome, strange way too. Like, improv and sketch has just really opened up my world in all kinds of different ways. But socially, I've met just some of the most amazing people. My friend Amber Ruffin was an improviser that moved. She had done Boom Chicago in Amsterdam for a while, and she came back to Chicago and did the main stage there. And then she thought it was time to move to LA. And when she moved to LA, oftentimes when improvisers move to LA, they're looking for a place to land. There was a second city in Hollywood that I was a big part of. And so we were on an improv team that we put together ourselves that we performed different places called Black by Popular Demand, I think was the name.
Oh, that's awesome.
Festivals. And,
didn't she do a thing for once she, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get something similar to that where it was maybe it's like Amber Says What, or it's something where it was on the Seth Meyers.
Yeah.
And it was everything he couldn't say or whatever. It's like she had to say it instead of him.
That's a great bit that I'm pretty sure she came up with, even if she didn't come up with it, which I'm pretty sure she did. She's amazing in it. I just love the way that she got all those on-camera roles as a writer, and her personality just shone through so brightly that she's undeniable, and that we have to get her own show. She just she
stole the show. Yeah, every time they would do Amber Says What or anything, like you forget it's a Seth Meyers show, and you're just like, oh, this should be the Amber Ruffin show.
And she hasn't changed one iota. But she was just a good friend who we used to play around and improvise together with. And so Stephen was putting together, he said, as he told it to me, the company that purchased the second city after there was this racial reckoning, that's a long story, whatnot, but the owner, Andrew Alexander, divested, sold all his stock in the company and everything. And the person who was the purchaser came to Stephen Colbert because he knew him from CBS back in the day, on the board at CBS or something like that. So he was saying, hey, I am not Second City, but you are Second City. And I want Second City to be Second City, continue to be Second City. So I need someone like you who is Second City to make sure it remains Second City.
Yeah.
So Stephen, I'm sure it was more to it than this, but Stephen pretty much said, yes, if I can form my own artistic advisory board. So not only is Stephen on the board of Second City, of the new Second City, but he also was going around forming his own artistic advisory board. So he went to Amber Ruffin, and Amber was like, hey, that sounds great and everything, but I just got my own show. My show is very jealous right now. It needs my attention.
Yeah, for sure.
And having had his own show before, he said. So Amber said, though, but if, who you should talk to is my friend Dwayne, because everyone knows him, everyone loves him. That's him relaying this back to me. So he said, when I heard that, I had to talk to you. So I get an email, right? And I was like, dude, I'm floored by all of this. I get an email and it says the subject line is Stephen Colbert here. And I was like, that sounds
right. Please send me your bank account information.
Right. I was like, okay. He said, hey, your friend Amber Ruffin recommended you for this thing I'm putting together. It'd be best explained over FaceTime. Send me your number. So I thought this was Amber just pulling my leg. So I was like, sure, whatever. I'll send her my number. She already has. So I sent a number. And then the next day he FaceTimed me and he's explaining all this to me. And asked me, he's like, excuse me for not knowing anything about your career, but tell me about yourself. I think I even told him all about my stage stuff. Like I didn't even mention that I was an actor or writer at all. I was just talking about stuff I'd done with the Second City and other comedy theaters, and how I was always trying to be, I'm the people's champ is what I would say, because I was trying to just make a more equitable stage here in LA and other places as much as I could with the shows I wrote, with the pieces I would direct, with how I would teach and all that. And I think that we just, had a connection there where he, said, yeah, if you'd like to join us, that'd be great. At the time, it was only like maybe 4 or 5 people. He had like Carell had it already accepted, and Tim Meadows, and I think Keegan and himself. But he said, we need more women, we need more diversity. So I kept just sending him names of people who are either graduates or alumni, and he could put together what I think is a stellar group of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super. I mean, when you just look at it as a grid, it's just like. It's like the Avengers of comedy, like, because what do you like? You're right in between like Tina Fey and Steve Carell, I think.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah,
it's alphabetical. So
yeah, I know. That's
the only way I find myself in between them is alphabetically. So
dude, thank God for the alphabet. Well, what I wanted to know, man, there was like, so I mean, I guess you kind of explained it a little bit, but it's like. So the guy that took over was like, all right, I don't really know how to keep this true to what it is. and that's kind of your responsibility as the artistic advisory board. Is that right?
Yes and no. Yes, I think I don't know about that part, but yeah, yes, in that it will be our jobs to advise. I mean, all of our, our training centers and or places where we have a resident stage. I think right now it's just Toronto and Chicago. LA had a facility but didn't have a resident stage, and we're looking for a new facility right now. There's just no building, but there is a community. In those places, they have artistic directors. Those, that position will remain, and so artistic director is more hands-on with what goes up on the stage artistically. What makes it there, what gets it in shape if it needs to be get in shape, that kind of thing. And I think we'll advise them. Those people.
Okay. Yeah, you're not just gonna walk in on people and go, "This is funny. This is not funny."
Oh gosh, no, that's someone else's job. But as a performer and as a collaborator and as a director, oftentimes I would find myself saying, "Yeah, we're going to keep this. We're going to get rid of that," and that's okay. It's a spirit of collaboration. It's a yes and spirit that Second City has definitely garnered over the years. So I'm not afraid of that in any way, but not from out high in any way. No. That this is to get together, like to keep certain traditions that were alive and well and help the people on that board thrive. They want to make sure are kept, those kind of things. And even if those morph and evolve to suit the needs of today's audiences as well as performers, because oftentimes that needs to happen in certain aspects, that's okay too. We just want to make sure that the thing that we hold it, all held dear and continue to hold dear remains.
Yeah, and that's because, Second City, I mean, it's just like almost like this iconic institution that this is like the place where so much talent comes from, like so many amazing people, like you name a funny person,
just look up Second City alumni, you'll be floored.
Yeah, you really
those doors. I worked as a stand-in, which is glorified background work, but I worked as a stand-in on Whose Line Is It Anyway for about 5 seasons when they did a reboot on the CW, and I was Wayne Brady's stand-in, and Wayne was a very busy person, so sometimes he wouldn't always make it on time to rehearsal. So the A-team, meaning Ryan Stiles and Colin Mockery and their Aisha Tyler and the fourth chair guest, would have to then improvise with not just themselves and Wayne, but with me sometimes. It was always awesome. So, but in doing that, though, in doing that show as a stand-in and getting to see these pros that were all Second City alumni, except for like Wayne, who studied elsewhere, but he's a world-class, improviser. It taught me, man, like these people are different. This is amazing. Like how they quickly they get it and what they're going after and how they've influenced the world on with comedy is just flooring to me and amazing, and I feel lucky to have even come close to being around the greatness that I have.
Because you got to think, Whose Line Is It Anyway is basically that's the ambassador to the world of what improv was. Like to most people who didn't
what improv was to my family. I would say, like Whose Line? They'd be like, Whose Line? I'd be like, like Wayne Brady. I'd be like, oh yeah, I know improv.
No, I get it. Yeah, that's the thing is like so many people wouldn't have known that show. Right. Brought it to the entire world, and now everyone knows. Everyone who hasn't seen Whose Line Is It Anyway?
And they still tour. I don't know if it's still on the CW, but I know they still tour it. Whose Live Is It Anyway? It's a live show.
Oh, cool.
And the guy who was the creator of it, the original creator from in England, he was still the producer when I was on that show. He was great. So I mean, it's just amazing. Yeah.
Oh man, if they ever come through my town, I'm gonna be there. That's for sure, dude.
Yeah, especially like Styles, man. My favorite kept changing. Coming into the show, Wayne Brady was my absolute favorite, and he did not disappoint. The guy's super, super talented and such a, he was a mentor to me, like straight up. But he was just, awesome to watch live. And he would even comment on some of my improv. Sometimes he'd get there and look through the monitor for a couple of steps before he'd walk on, and he would repeat back funny lines, which is floored me. But then my favorite shifted to Colin, and Colin's just the sweetest man you ever met, and quick. The guy is so quick. I can't imagine that he hasn't had forethought on some of these, that it is improv, that it is live. He is this smart, he is this funny. And then when I got to be on set, like Styles didn't want to be bothered with fans for the most part. If you're a working professional or a collaborator, sure, but he gets, I'm sure, approached too much. So he wasn't very friendly at first to
Yeah.
the stand-ins, but by the time we left after working with Stiles, he was just like an awesome dude. Had his own theater up. I think it's in Washington or Oregon. I forget where his theater is. He would invite us up to you guys got to come through, that kind of thing. He was just like an awesome person. We're gonna come back next season, and watching him work too, I was just like blown away. I'd already known his work. I would teach at second season. Sometimes I would show clips from Stiles, so I knew his work, and I saw him on television obviously over the years. But to see him live, I was like, this man is just amazing. So again, my favorite kept changing, but by the time I was no longer doing stand-in work, I think Stiles is my favorite. Don't tell Wayne or
Okay. Well, I was going to think that because you said Wayne was your favorite at first, but I would have just assumed just because whenever he didn't show up, that meant you got put on and you were in the game. So you would eventually start wanting him to not show up.
Well, you would think that, but again, we were stand-ins. We were not there for our improv. So for some people that was a rude awakening. For me, it was just like, I don't care. I just didn't mind observing. We were there for the cameras and lighting, so they can know where to place things. And if they have a celebrity guest, when they present them on this the show, they want it to be truly a surprise for the A team, the regular cast. So the guests sometimes would do a walkthrough or sometimes improvise with us stand-ins. But for the most part, we are not there. They would stop and start with the games with us just to see, feel where the cameras might want to go or, be ready for that kind of thing. But it was not a lot of improvising. But when I did, that being said, when I did get a chance to, when Wayne was late or wasn't there, and I did get a chance to improvise with the A team, it was always special because, again, this is no audience. So they're really fucking with you, man. Say, take a punch and throw a punch. Yeah. And believe me, I learned.
Oh man, dude, this is like bringing it back to like we were talking about all the Animaniacs art that like people went too far with it. You'll never it'll never see like the public will never see it. Now I'm jealous too because it's like realizing like what goes on like on behind the scenes with you guys and like
they said to me.
No audience,
I would never repeat, but it was
nobody knows what you're but yeah, people like that funny, that talented, just and they have no rules all of a sudden. Oh man, that's
they were just great. It was just great to be around, man. I just really feel lucky in everything I've ever done. I worked in animation on some awesome projects, some awesome movies. I got to meet some awesome people. I even wrote for when I finally became a writer and started writing for animation. I even wrote for like oh man, what's his name? He talks like, the wrestler.
Randy
Macho Man,
Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Macho Man. Yeah, I wrote for
I
him.
fucking love Macho Man. I was just watched a clip of him the other day on Arsenio Hall.
Yes, really I saw that clip. Yes.
When he's like when they asked him if it's okay to cry, he's like, hell yeah, brother, it's okay to cry. Macho Man has cried 1,000 times.
That was so great. That was a great little speech. I looked at that like 3 times. I watched that, but I wrote for him, and I wrote for why can't I think of any actors' names now? She's no longer with us either, but she played Eartha Kitt. I wrote for Eartha Kitt.
No way! Whoa!
Yeah, the same animated show at the time I was writing for Nickelodeon. So I've had just like some amazing experiences of things that I'm a fan of. You know what I mean? Like lots of people have had lots of awesome celebrity experiences, but my encounters of in the animated world and writing for certain people or acting with them was just always just like total geek out fandom because I love their work so much.
It's so amazing you're writing your words and then. Macho Man Randy Savage and Eartha Kitt are out there and they're speaking your words. That's got to be gotta blow your mind, dude.
Yeah, I was. I mentioned earlier about Louis Anderson, R.I.P. Louis. I remember when I had a small one-day player, co-star role for his show Baskets, and I couldn't wait to tell Louis that I used to work on Life with Louis. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna tell him I used to work on like anime. I even did voice. I couldn't wait. And we're taking so I saw him when we're coming out of the trailers. He just kind of glanced my way, but it wasn't an opportunity to speak or anything. But then we were on the same shuttle headed to set, and the set was a Costco, which is great. It was an actual Costco, not a set built for Costco, which I thought was
cool. You guys just what did they just like shut it down for a day or?
Yeah, it's at night. So we're going to the Costco, which was great, and Louis is like holding court. He's pretty much telling his stories. He's telling these funny things, and he's got us all captivated, kind of thing, or whatever. So I remember trying to like interject at one point, saying something about, I met him in a way before because I'm trying to. That was going to be my segue into telling the story about working on the thing, or whatever. And he kind of shut it down in a way because he was finishing saying what he was saying. Yeah. And he goes on this long thing, and he's finished telling the story, and we were all laughing and everything. And then Louis, to his credit, came back. He was like, "All right, now what were you saying?"
Oh, that's cool, man.
Oh, yes. I was just trying to say. And then he mentioned, the owners and everything is, oh, they were great. And then we talked about it for a minute. And, he was very, just very cordial and diplomatic and, and just awesome. And then when we got on set, it was just like a one little scene again. But if you look at it, I freaking love that scene because I know which they used the last take. And that's after Louis and I kept going back and forth on how it should go. And the director, and he was a co-creator of the show, Jonathan Christal, he was amazing. He was like, well, why don't you guys come over here and discuss it for a minute? So I'm like working out how the scene should go with Louis. And then they end up using more toward like the pace of what I thought it would be. But then after, they wrapped me for the day, Louis said, called me over and he was like, let me just give you one piece of advice. I was like, absolutely. After I took a picture with him, of course. But he was like, you have to speed it up in a way. And he was basically trying to reiterate what he was saying the whole time. And I was like, I will take that. And I've used that advice. And I was like, yes, he was right. Maybe not in that instance, but yeah, that was just an amazing experience just all around. So Louis always has a special place in my heart.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's kind of what I was saying in the very beginning when we were talking about Life with Louis, like his old cartoon. That's oh man, such a good show, dude.
Well, what's great about his comedy is that he got to play his dad on the animated show.
Yeah,
and he got to play his version of his mom on Baskets.
Yeah,
pretty great.
Man, I was just thinking too, like I mean, just on like really really like amazing like sets with like awesome people and like I watched you on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and you were like super fucking funny, man. Like you it's like especially like I don't want to sit here and tell the scene because that's
Andy Samberg is a powerhouse. Let me just say that.
But you were the funnier one in the scene, in my opinion. Because
what's tough about being a day player oftentimes is that you're there just for a scene or two, right?
Yeah.
You're not the funny. What I mean by that, I don't mean like people aren't going to laugh at your performance. I mean like it's oftentimes not the comedic character performance that you're playing. You're playing the straight person in that.
Yeah.
Straight being a proxy for the audience or someone who is not a comedic character and in some sort of exaggerated personality types like Andy Samberg's character was on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So there's an art to that and being able to make sure that you allow the funny to be the funny and you do your part. So I just kind of, it took me taking not just improv and sketch, but some real acting.
Yeah.
Through my buddy Gabe Dell, who's a brilliant acting coach.
Because there's discipline in there. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just saying Gabe Dell was the person who really taught me and continues to teach me, in my opinion, about what acting is. And he's available as a coach out here in Los Angeles. If you're in Los Angeles, Gabriel Del Vecchio or Gabe Dell Jr. So once I took some real acting, that it lets you kind of like know what your part is, what your place is, what your role is in the overall. And that helps you not try to make a day player theater and, do more than you should be doing.
Because it's got to be tempting. Because, I guess, in your role in that, like, you're the dude that guards the armory. So they can't get, like, he wants to get, like, a machine gun from you.
Yeah, he has noble intentions. They were, like, trying to support in the storyline officer. But, yeah, he's comedically trying to dupe this guy into giving him more than what he should have.
But it's got to be tempting, man. Like, whenever, like, Andy Samberg throws you something funny to, like, want to, like jump,
of course you want to do that. I mean,
because that's
again, I was going to tell on that day on the set, I was going to tell Andy Andy Samberg story of mine, where I was late to set. I was late for an audition once, and they do the auditions on the campus where they used to shoot Brooklyn Nine-Nine at the CBS Radford. So I was late for an audition, and then the security guard tells me, "Hey man, they're shooting where you're going to be going for this audition. So you may have to wait a while." And I was like, But I was late. I was like, "No, dude, I can't be late to this particular office because they're always awesome for bringing me in." So I was like, "Well, I've been on a bunch of shoots. I know when they're shooting or not. If the camera's actually rolling, I'll, see if what's happening." So I get there and I see like they're not shooting. So I just kind of keep walking like I belong. And I'm about to make my right turn into that little house that's where they did the auditions or whatever. And one person on set took off his glasses, turned around and looked at me like harshly, and I was like, froze. It was Andy Samberg.
Oh, cool.
And he put him back on, and I kept walking. So I was going to tell him that story. But dude, are you kidding me? Andy Samberg was on set, was telling some awesome story about when he was on the stage with Lonely Island and Kanye West coming up. So I'm like, I am not going to interrupt. I'm going to just sit back and shut the hell up and listen to this awesome story this dude is telling about being a celebrity superstar.
Dude, Dwayne, I wasn't even going to bring this. So it's just because you just brought up Kanye, and like a lot of times, like when I have a guest on, I'll just like look at I'll just go get on Twitter, see what's trending, maybe see if there's anything in your town that's trending, or maybe my town, and see if there's something. But all I found was like Have you heard about Kanye's new collab with his Yeezy collab with the Gap?
I have not. No. Oh,
Okay.
yes, I did. Where what I heard
bags?
was that trash bags, and that's how he wanted it. When someone tried to change that in some way.
Well, the reason I brought it up is it's probably my favorite Kanye project in many years now. So basically, he worked at the Gap like before his career took off, and so but now he's got this huge clothing line, and so when they signed this contract with him, he made it where they have to sell his clothes. They can't put them on hangers and racks. Yeah. They have to be in giant trash bags. And then he said that the people that work there can't help you find your size. They just have to dig through the trash bag and find it. And everything in there is like there's like $350 like long sleeve shirts in there that you have to like.
You got to appreciate, how he's coming at society. Like he's really taking us for a ride with that one. Like, in my opinion only, it doesn't be the opinion of the show. He's basically putting out stuff that doesn't look that great. It kind of looks like you're dressing like hodgepodge kind of homelessness, right? And then to put them in bags, to have people rummage through them. Maybe he's like satirically mocking society, saying, "Look at you," And satire. The goal is not, trying to elicit a laugh. It's just to hold up that mirror, and I think he is holding up a mirror with a lot of, obviously is. The work, you can just go by the content of a lot of his songs. He's trying to tell us to look at ourselves and our behavior, even though he could, stand to do that a bit himself. But I think he's doing that with some of the fashion stuff too. He's just saying, look at you, look at us. What is this? Yeah.
But what I thought was like, do you think, especially like, working at the Gap, like when he was a kid or like younger, and then now he can kind of do whatever he wants. Do you think he was just kind of like waiting his whole life to be like, I'm going to make the Gap sell clothes out of trash bags? Like,
oftentimes I think we put more on people than we give people more credit than they are due. He probably thought of that shit like 5 minutes before they put him out. Oh yeah. Also put him in trash bags. I don't know.
I just love because I was reading some of the quotes, man, and he's like, I'm not sorry. He's like,
I love that. I love the I'm not sorry.
These aren't clothes. This is my life.
An anarchist by any means. I don't believe in chaos as a way of life or anything like that. But shit like that made me laugh because you can't go. He's right in that you can't go around apologizing for your opinion all the time.
Yeah.
Not all the time. Not everywhere you go. Not because someone said so. Like if you truly feel remorse, of course you should apologize. If you truly recognize through, facts that you're wrong about something, of course you should apologize. But if you don't think that you're wrong, if you don't believe that in your heart of hearts, fuck it, bro, live your life.
I mean, dude, he didn't force the Gap to sign a contract with him. He's the artist. This is his shit.
They had the same contract he said. You know what I mean? Like they saw it too.
Yeah, they want to put the word Yeezy on their
right, because he's hot. He got eyeballs, so that you got to accept that what comes with it.
So I had a question for you that came out of this though, because I might, like you said, I might be reading into this way too much, and he might have thought of that 5 minutes before, probably forgot he ever worked at the Gap. But I was thinking, like, for you, like, did you ever have a job back in the day where, like, if all of a sudden you could just kind of do whatever you want, and would you do a collab with one of your past employers just to fuck with them, just to like do something stupid and funny, like make them sell their shit out of trash bags?
If I did a collab, if I ever get famous enough for anyone to want to do a collab, which is not my goal. I'm not trying to be famous in any way. I want to work. But if I do, it'll probably be with a restaurant, a place where that, got me to the state I am in that I don't want to be in because I eat too much. So I'm sure there would be some fried foods involved. And it probably most likely be Roscoe's. And it would be me and Roscoe saying, here's our new healthy recipe for all you people, heart smart people out there where it's all baked and I don't know what the hell. But that would be as close as I'd come to a collab.
They'll go like diverge from their menu 100%.
I'd want something ironic. I'd want something where you'd be like, what? Like, why would they do that with him? Yeah.
I was thinking like I used to be a delivery dude for Jimmy John's.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like if I had a collab with them, like a My Views Are My Own podcast collab, if this ever became like, I'd be like, yeah, here's my concept, dude. It's like a trough. It's like you slop the hogs, dude. And I'm like, so I just take the sandwiches and there'll be a bunch of garbage in the trough, and I throw the sandwich in the trough, and you got to find your own sandwich, and the people that work there can't help you find it.
Yeah, you call it hog wild.
Call it hog wild with Jimmy John's.
Slop time. Yeah.
Slop time. All right, yo, if you're a Jimmy John's executive and you're listening to this, hit me up.
Can't steal his idea.
You can't steal my idea.
2022.
Wait, I got something to tell you, dude. We are dangerously close to the lightning round.
All right.
I gotta explain to you how the lightning round works. I have to so I ask you the questions super fast. I'll give you a warning before we start. I'll tell you what the kind of subject matter is. But you have to go with your heart and your gut.
I'm gonna close my eyes. That'll help me
go with your brain, because if you think too hard, it'll mess you up, man. You just got to go fast.
All right, here we go.
Today's lightning round topic is all about weather.
Weather.
Yes.
Yes. Got it. Okay.
All right. First one. Which type of cloud is better, cumulus or stratus?
I'm gonna go with stratus because they seem like they get high.
Damn, you said stratus. I respect your opinion, but I'm more of like a cumulus guy myself. I like the big fluffy clouds.
I'll be honest, I have no idea what the difference would be.
I had to look up what stratus clouds look like before I wrote this question, because I was like, what do they look like? And I was like, oh, okay, they're like the wispy ones.
Well, all I thought of was the word stratosphere. So I was like, well, I've been up in the stratosphere on a plane. So if those are the ones that are there, then I like them.
Never even once has it occurred to me that they're named stratus because they're in the stratosphere.
Maybe. I don't know that to be true. It's just my deducing.
All right. This next one's a scary question. Which is scarier, a water spout or a dust devil?
Ooh, that's tough. I'm going to go with water spout, because a water spout most likely would be in public. And I don't know if you've seen public water spouts. Gross.
I've never seen a water spout. I guess I've seen them on video.
Oh, spout! I was thinking of water fountain, water spout, like in Vegas.
It's like a little tornado made out of water.
Oh, or what was he on? The dust
devil. So that's like the little miniature tornado made out of dust.
Oh,
I'm really familiar with those because I used to live in Tucson.
I'm going to change my answer because I was ignorant to what the question was, and go with dust devil, because that stuff can get in your eyes.
That's exactly what I was thinking. With the dust devil, you get shit in your eyes, and it can really hurt. You can get a whole rock in your eye. It could really actually hurt you. So,
some serious damage.
But I'm kind of afraid of drowning. I don't know, man.
I think we're all afraid of drowning. Thus, the torture method of
the waterboarding. Oh yeah,
waterboarding.
And that's when the podcast went on a seriously dark turn.
Always end on waterboarding.
Actually, we're not, because we're going into one of my favorite questions of the day. So in 2007, Baby Bash and T-Pain wrote the iconic weather-inspired hit dance song and titular track, Cyclone. What weather event do you think they should write a song about next if they ever get back together?
I think the obvious choice is Hurricane.
Hurricane? Yeah.
She's
moving my body like a hurricane, and she makes me
want. There's already a song about hurricane.
Water spout.
Hurricane.
She hurt my eyes like a dust devil. I don't know.
This is bad. Any rappers out there, excuse us.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, T-Pain.
I'm thinking Hurricane.
Dude, Hurricane. There's an unlimited number of times you can make songs about hurricanes. It's just, especially a dance song.
If I'm allowed to change my answer again, I'm going to go with Earthquake, because I know somehow that it would be pronounced Earth with an F, and I just love the sound of that. Earthquake. I just want a song with Earthquake in it. Earthquake.
Dude, shit, we gotta get in touch with Baby Bash and let him know.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's been waiting on this call.
All right, this is a tough one, man. This is kind of just like this is my views on my own podcast. This is just your views, dude. What do you think the wind should do? Gust or breeze?
I'm tired of the wind doing whatever the hell they want. So if I think we get to control what the wind should do, it should breeze at all times, especially in California where it's hot.
Yeah, just breeze. We don't need a gust. I don't want to lose my baseball hat.
We don't need those gusts. Those gusts are unexpected, inappropriate, and they're just rude.
I have a personal question though, dude. Yes. And because it's embarrassing, but have you ever had the wind blow your hat off your head and then you had to chase it, and then you look like a fool because the wind keeps blowing it further away from you, and you're running bent over, you're
like, how did I get in this Benny Hill sketch? It hasn't happened to me, but I feel like it has, because I've seen it so much.
I don't know if it's ever been a hat, but I've definitely had a hat get blown off my head.
I've definitely had the wind assault something that I wanted as I'm trying to grab it, for sure. Usually it's papers. You're like, no, like, it's too late.
My important papers.
Like an idiot. Yeah, right. There's no way to not look stupid trying to grab, because you don't want to fully commit. You're trying not to get all the way down and crouch down and be on the ground and grabbing it and look like a fool that way, but you end up looking like a fool a million different ways trying to not do that.
You're like, that's why you're always like trying to like stomp on the papers because that looks cool.
Exactly. Like, look how cool I am. I didn't even have to bend over, and I got this paper. Now watch me bend over.
But it's so much like less effective than just grabbing your papers.
It really is.
All right, so we're gonna go with Breeze.
Breeze it is. Breeze it is. Yeah.
All right, man. This one is kind of like, I don't know if you've been up on your Farmer's Almanac, if you're gonna be able to answer this.
I know,
but in the movie The Lord of the Rings, when Legolas says a red sun rises means blood has been spilt this night. Is that true when that happens? Is that how that works? Is that how
I'm gonna go with no works? Because The Lord of the Rings is completely made up. Okay. So I'm sure, and I don't know what it is. So, but I'm just gonna be sure anyway. I'm sure there's a scientific explanation that has nothing to do with actual blood, but it's just like a red discoloration. So we're gonna call it blood because that's how humans are. We can't help but think of like violence and sex. So yeah, that's my answer.
All right, you guys heard it here first. Legolas the elf is full of shit. Dwayne, I have one last question, man, and it's the most important question I have of all, and that is, where can everybody that's listening, like, where can they like find you, check you out, any new projects, anything at all, or like, where they can follow you on social media and stuff?
You can follow me on Twitter. It's at just like Steven. That's before I met him. So I was just trying to get people to pronounce my last name the way I wanted it pronounced. So it's at just like Steven with a PH on Twitter. On Instagram is at dcolbert01.
dcolbert01, and it's like the D train, right? Is that what it's like?
Dwayne Train. You better get on.
Oh, the Dwayne Train. Yeah. That's a great name.
That's terrible. Yeah. But as far as things are coming out and happening and stuff, and you'll see my face here and there, is what I'll say. Because that's the most I can say. And also,
cool. That sounds like a teaser of something awesome.
Well, they're all awesome in my book, but yes.
Yeah.
Still writing a few projects on the horizon there as well. So,
hell yeah, and also, guys, go check out that song we were talking about.
Yes,
like, that's literally like it's literally, as soon as we're done with this podcast, that's the first thing I'm doing with my life.
Right.
Dwayne, man, thank you so much for spending the time to come talk to me, man. This has been awesome. Finally getting to meet you face to face, dude.
Right on, man. Appreciate you.